Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. So we're going to talk about getting rich, which nobody is thinking about these days. Who is thinking about getting rich? And I don't like to talk about like getting rich on the radio because it sounds like so smarmy. Like, I'm going to help you get rich. It's not really my job. It's not it's not what I'm here for. I'm here to do a couple of other things. I'm here to help you live a stress-free financial life. But I'm not here to help you get rich. This isn't like a penny stock newsletter or something like that. The funny thing about being rich, and a lot of people don't explore this topic, it is not well explored. Being rich is it's a relative concept, okay? If you have $1 million, my guess is, here's what's going to happen. You're going to save, you're going to invest, you're going to get to $1 million, and you're going to say, that's interesting. I know this guy over here with $5 million, and he's rich, and I'm not rich. And the guy with $5 million, there's a guy down the street that has $10 million, and he says, well, that guy is rich. I'm not rich. And it's just all this measuring. And so at what point do you become rich? I mean, for some people, like, they're deep into debt. They have no savings. Their credit rating is trashed. And they work themselves out of debt, and they get to zero. And then they get $10,000 in the bank, and they're like, man, I feel rich. And yes, by all means, you are actually rich, right? Now, again, it's a relative concept because there's somebody down the street that has $100,000. And, I can tell you at what point I got $100,000. It was after I sold my condo in California. And we got the cash from the condo, and we had a bank account that was like close to $200,000. And I was 27 years old. And I said, I feel rich, right? I'm 27 years old. I got $200,000. Like, that feels rich to me. And I was going into a world where, I was going into Wall Street where people were making like multiple millions of dollars a year. And it's insane. So the whole point is I don't know anybody that thinks they're rich, that like says, yeah, I'm rich. I don't know anybody that says that. There are people out there who have $100 million, and they're like, and this actually happened recently. There was a guy on Twitter, and he worked at a bank, and he was a portfolio manager, and for sure he was making like millions of dollars a year, right? He was making millions of dollars a year, and he was on Twitter like complaining about billionaires, And by the way, all this class warfare stuff is millionaires screaming about billionaires. I honestly don't know too many people who are working class people who even really like care what billionaires are up to. All the class warfare stuff is millionaires screaming about billionaires. So the other thing about, getting money is that when you get up to, let's just say $100,000, you're like, okay, this was my goal, but now I want $200,000, and you move the goalposts, right? And a lot of people say there's no point in getting rich because you always move the goalposts. And I disagree with that. I think moving the goalposts is a very natural thing to do. I think it's a very rational thing to do. It's just about setting goals. Like, you meet one goal and you set a new goal, and then you reach that goal, and then you set a new goal after that. So it's, this whole moving the goalpost thing, like, I just don't agree with it, and rich is a relative concept. And if your goal is to become rich, you might get rich, but you're getting rich for the wrong reasons. So now, unless you are Jeff Bezos, well, not even Bezos anymore, because he got divorced, and then he gave $10 billion to fight climate change, so he fell off. Who's the richest person now? I think it's Bill Gates, which is crazy. I have a story about Bill Gates. This is nuts, okay? So Bill Gates founded Microsoft, and he left Microsoft in 2002. And he was still on the board of directors, but he left Microsoft in 2002, and he basically was retired, okay? When he retired in 2002, he had $40 billion, okay, which I think he was the richest person in the world at the time. He had $40 billion. You go to 2010, and he's worth $80 billion. But this is the crazy thing. He gave away $26 billion along the way. So in 8 years, he had $40 billion. He got to $80 billion. He doubled his money, and he gave almost all of it away along the way. And the reason he did that, the reason he was able to do that is Bill Gates. I would make the argument that Bill Gates is the smartest investor in the world. By the way, he learned from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett taught him everything he knew. Okay. And Bill Gates is the best investor in the world. He hasn't worked in almost 20 years, and he's the richest person in the world. And he gives money away constantly. Like he just has money coming out of his ears. Like he can't even get rid of it fast enough. He's making it all the time. It's absolutely insane. So, so I'm a rich guy. Like theoretically, there's people richer than me. There's people poorer than me. Like there's different areas on the spectrum. There's still things that I can't do. I'm not rich enough to fly in a private jet. I could do it once, just to show off. I could be like, all right, we're going to Vegas and we get in a jet, but I can't do it all the time. I can't use that as air travel, right? So, but there's things that you can't do. But Warren Buffett has said that like private air travel is it's the one thing that as a rich person that really sets you apart. By the way, private air travel at this particular point in time with the virus running around would be amazing, right? So you don't have to go to the airport. You don't have to wear a mask. You're not like touching the tray table that somebody licked. And all this unsanitary stuff. Like, yeah, you can just get in your own plane. So that's the benefits of private air travel. But I will say that it's okay to move the goalposts. And maybe your goal is to buy a house in a nice neighborhood. You meet your goal and you move into the house. Then you have a new goal and you move the goalposts. This is not unhealthy. It's not like you're never happy. There's a house in my neighborhood. So I live in a beach neighborhood, and I'm not on the beach. I'm like a block back from the beach. And there's a house in the neighborhood that's all the way in the end of the beach. And it's the best location of any house I've ever seen. Because next to my neighborhood is like a state park. So you can look all the way down the beach completely unobstructed. And the house is like 6,000 square feet. I looked it up on Zillow. It went for $3.3 million back in 2017. And I've always said to my wife, I said, if that sucker comes up for sale, I am getting that house, like for sure. Like I love my house. It's a great house, but you move the goalposts. You set another goal, right? So my dream back in 2002, I was at Lehman Brothers. I was a young guy at Lehman Brothers. My dream back in 2002, my goal was to save up $2 million and put it in the bank and get 6% interest. That's where interest rates were at the time. Put it in the bank and get 6% interest, get 120 grand in interest a year, and live off of that and never work again. And that was my goal. And that was a stupid goal. By the way, here's what happened. So 2002, that was my goal. 2006, I achieved that goal. I had $2 million. And then I said, well, that idea doesn't seem like I'm gonna move the goalposts. I'm gonna try for more. So I was 28 years old, and these are the types of things you think about when you're 28. By the way, now interest rates are so low. I think in order to make 120 grand a year, you need like 10 million bucks just to make 120 grand a year. When I was a kid, I had friends that had refrigerators that had an ice machine on the refrigerator. And I said, that is the definition of rich right there. If you have a refrigerator with an ice machine on it, then that is the definition of rich. Of course, now I have a refrigerator with an ice machine on it. There's pretty much every refrigerator has an ice machine on it. So back in 2003, if you had a flat screen TV then you were rich. Now everybody has a flat screen TV. Things have gotten so cheap that we all enjoy luxuries that there was no way we could enjoy 30 years ago. There was a friend from my hometown we were talking about Little League Baseball. And when I played Little League Baseball back in the 80s, there was like one kid on the team that had baseball pants, like the actual baseball pants. And baseball pants at the time cost $70. And it was like, I couldn't believe how rich. Now, every kid on a Little League team has like 5 pairs of baseball pants, and they cost $20. So, even people with low incomes have pretty high standards of living nowadays. You got a washer, a dryer, dishwasher, air conditioning, flat screen TV, video game system, smartphone, computer. Like, none of this stuff is particularly expensive nowadays. So we all have a pretty high standard of living. So what do you really want if you are a rich? Do you want a 10,000 square foot house? Do you want a pool? I have a pool, and when I go out in the pool and I listen to music, I have these outdoor speakers, and I'm out in the pool in the summer and I'm listening to music on the outdoor speakers, and it's the one thing that makes me feel rich, and it makes me feel like I am very fortunate to have what I have. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.